today is the world of ideas. It is the ideas which drive business. Okay, not the business that drives ideas. If you have a compelling idea, you have the will to succeed, you have the same deep sense of commitment, money will follow you. You got plenty of people sitting out there with startup funds, with venture capital, who are looking for such people, who have that spark in their eyes.
This is episode number 118 of The Inspiring Talk with Nepal's only billionaire, Dr. Binod Chaudhary. Welcome back inside yet another episode of The Inspiring Talk. My name is Bijay Gautam. I'm your host for this show. Each week, I interview today's most successful and inspiring personalities to help you realize your inner potential. I am very excited for my guest today, Dr. Binod Chaudhary. Dr. Binod is Nepal's only Forbes-listed billionaire. He is often referred to as a noodle king. Binod Chaudhary is the man behind the widely popular YY Noodles. The noodle company from the small landlocked country today has 20% market share in Indian noodles market and 3% in the world. The company sells over 10 million packets of noodles every single day. CG Corp Global, the enterprise Dr. Binod runs along with his three sons, comprises of 160 companies and 123 brands across the verticals in 27 countries across the globe. In this episode, we discuss things like how Dr. Binod was able to grow the company in the midst of Maoist insurgency in Nepal, how he turns failures into bigger opportunities, the way he thinks about dreams. This is the story of a person who continued to dream bigger. Let's welcome Dr. Binod Chaudhary. Dr. Chaudhary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bijay. It's really amazing to see, or rather being in conversation with someone who come from Nepal, and more importantly, part of Nepal, which is so close to my heart, but that's where, my life revolves. Well done.
So, Dr. Chaudhary, you have written your biography, and let's say if your life was turned into a movie, where would it begin?
Well, actually, you'll be surprised. I've received multiple proposals to convert that into a movie.
I'm sure.
Not only within Nepal, but also from someone who's done multilingual production between Hollywood, India and Nepal. My life has been very, very colorful.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
No question about it. From a school-going boy in a public bus to a Sarkari school, to operating to a discotheque, to trying to go to Mumbai to the Bollywood for becoming a chartered accountant, not an arc. I've faced some of the most dramatic situations in my life, When we were doing the book, my co-author, Sudeep, thought that Chile incident was a very, very, very interesting incident, which gives sort of a goosebump to the readers, and that's from where my book starts.
Yeah.
Probably that may not be a very bad idea, Maybe the life should start from there, earthquake in Chile, or even a lot of people who ever talk to me about my book, they talk to me about that. They particularly like the sequence where I, as a child, with an empty tap up with a tire of a bicycle, I'm playing with it and I go on rolling it, and I reach the airport without knowing.
Yeah.
That's how we used to be as kids, Even my tryst with Sri Lanka, where I landed up, I wanted to open a hotel in Nepal and landed up doing a hotel in the midst of the crisis, midst of terrorism. 6 aircrafts were bombed at the Sri Lanka airport while I was there.
Wow.
And still I decided to invest. So what it was probably the most radical decision that anybody would ever make. Somebody else would have just found a way of escaping from that place.
Absolutely.
And that's where I saw the opportunity.
Mm.
So I think life is full of climax, Vijay. Anti-climax.
Yeah.
What makes life interesting is not to go the conventional path. It is to go completely out of the way and think out of box.
Yeah.
That's what gives advantage to people like us who come from a small country.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who's going to take notice of yours in this huge crowd?
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you earlier mentioned about insurgency in the Northeast. And so what you have learned about challenges, going through these difficult, whether that's from policy, whether that's from the political condition, whether that's from the everything being against you, and still you continued growing. So what did you learn from those, phases in your life?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, my life has been full of challenges, and even challenges which I did not deserve, which normally wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a blend of jealousy factor. It was a factor of the syndrome of pulling the leg, which is common in South Asia. And also probably my own ambition. To be very candid, my own ambition that I want to do far too many things in far short period of time. I want to change. I don't want to don't want to change myself. I want to change the enabling environment, the environment where I operate. Okay. And that's a tough call.
Yeah.
I tried to change FNCCI when I was FNCCI president. Okay. From going to the Director General's Office of Industry, Ministry of Industry, and waiting outside his with a room, to creating a situation where heads of the government would come and call on the business leaders. I must admit that my own ambitions and my own doing things, which is probably perceived by most people as beyond their radar in terms of thinking, gets me into trouble all the time.
And I think that's fair to say. That's with the entrepreneurs, right? Where they think beyond what can political leaders or the policy of the country can comprehend, and what they think should be the boundary. And here are entrepreneurs saying that we're going to push this boundary, we're going to go beyond that, we're going to push the limit, right? And the same goes true with you as well. While Nepal's policy does not allow Nepalese to go out and invest outside of the country, but here is an entrepreneur who figured out a way to do it.
Absolutely, I wouldn't take no for an answer because I'm convinced that what I'm doing is right. Now, if that requires a change in legislature, that requires change in the way of people think, and if that requires taking certain radical decisions, which people would find it easy to sabotage, even taking the risk that it involves, that's me.
Yeah.
I think that's me. I think to have unconventional scale of success or achieving things which does not come conventionally, you have to do unconventional things. That's what life is all about.
In your book, you mentioned when you started as an industrialist, you were neither prepared for it nor had the educational background. So that was from the context that you don't have educational background. Maybe you did not went to Harvard.
I was a very good student though. I topped the school. That's why I always maintain, and I would like to repeat again, that good students don't necessarily come out, or the best students do not necessarily come out of the best B school. They can come out from a very ordinary school.
Yeah.
Okay. There are good teachers in ordinary schools, including Sarkari schools, very committed teachers. And there are very bright students, in very ordinary schools. A combination of the two, gives outstanding quality of excellence in education and in training. So anyway, leave it as it may. Yes, you're right. I went to a very ordinary school. My means were limited. Okay. When I joined the business my father was building, there were lots of issues. I did not inherit a big organization of people, professionals, so it was on me. So I was not totally prepared as an organization, or I did not inherit a platform which was ready to take that big leap.
Yeah.
So it was, I had the challenge of not only carving out my own the groups or families' business destiny, but also I had the challenge of also building the building blocks and creating that enabling environment and supporting system in terms of people, manpower, as well as capital. So that's what it probably means.
And you have already said that I don't take no as an answer, or for any failure. What I've also got a sense from when I was reading your book was, if there is one failure, then you have this uncanny ability to move on to next thing, which usually is the bigger and better. For instance, the whole thing about losing the election of FNCCI, which is the chamber of Nepal. That's the moment when you decided, okay, well, guess what? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take CZ to the global scale. Now I'm going to expand. Do you agree that that those kind of failures have always helped you to pivot into something?
First of all, I take the failures as a temporary setback. They're really not failures.
Yeah.
Okay. That strengthens my courage and my determination to try it harder and make it bigger. You are absolutely right. I'm really fascinated to hear how well you've understood me and through this book. Yes, when I lost FNCCI election, which was all rigged and I did not deserve, I transformed that organization. Okay, everybody says that now. I did two things. I thought that was a God-sent time for me to take CG to the next level, take it to the global frontiers. But sometimes I did not leave my war with changing of the policy environment and lobbying capability as a business institution, Apex. And I started, on one hand, I gave them back a tough fight and my candidate won again, Anand Mulmi. But same times, I felt that this big organization has become too polluted, too political. Okay, it cannot deliver its mandate. We have to create a professionally driven organization, and that's how we created CNI, like CII here.
Yeah,
and we were very successful. And today, I'm sure if you are following Nepal and Nepalese social media, CNI has emerged as the most premier and respected organization, least controversial, least political, for providing business input to the country.
That's really great. And you went on to invest in Taj group of hotels in different parts of the world. And the way you have expanded to creating your own brand of hotel across the globe, which is really amazing. But also, you talk a lot about negotiation. And on negotiation table, you say that, always don't sound too needy. And at the same time, also make sure that you don't lose the deal as well, right? So the context that I'm trying to bring here is of the context of Taj Land's End. And I have stayed at that property and it's beautiful. It's amazing. And you had the opportunity to invest in that, but for whatever reason, you were not able to do that, right? So what was the biggest takeaway when you look back at that, that you have learned from not going out and, taking the deal of something like, Taj Lands?
I think you put it very well, that you don't sow anxiety or too much of desperation when you are negotiating a deal.
Yeah.
That's true. B, you push the other side to a level that they don't leave the table. Okay, that's where your skill comes. Okay, and that's where your knowledge base comes. That's where positioning yourself comes. But sometimes if you push that too hard, okay, that's exactly what happened in the case of Land's End. It was a mistake. So you need to know exactly when you stop pushing too hard and accept a compromise and also give in something.
Yeah.
I think I've made such mistakes many times.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I've lost some very, very interesting deals for very small bargain. Okay. And I have no hesitation in admitting that despite I call myself a deal maker. I wouldn't be sitting in this position if I was not a good deal maker. I wouldn't say greatest deal maker, but I'm a good deal maker. Okay. But even good deal makers have to realize There could be somebody who's a better deal maker than you.
Yeah.
On the other side. So you got to be congruent, and you got to be conscious of where you want to draw a line.
Really interesting. So the other thing was, on one of the talks, that you have given, you say, hey, when it comes to dreaming big, you were talking at this event and you mentioned about dreaming big, and at the same time, if you believe in your dreams and if you really dream big, resources will follow. And if you think about, especially from I have grown up, I remember when I was a kid, telling my mom that, Mom, I have seen my dad work really hard. When I grow up, I don't want to work for anyone. I want to do things on my own. And she would reply saying that, for you to start a business, you need money. I have heard my dad say it over and over again that, hey, you know what? If you want to start something, you need money, you need resources. Then only you can think about business. And I'm sure that's the conditioning that a lot of people in India, in Nepal, or in our part of the world. While on the other side, people like you, all you see is the opportunity. And also, I started with literally zero, right? And maybe I'll just we are on a path. And I'm convinced that when you just go ahead and do it, everything falls in place. So could you elaborate a bit on that aspect for the people who are?
No, you're absolutely right. I don't personally believe that because you have money, and because you're financially strong, you can make it into a successful businessman. Had that been the case, the saying that goes that most business houses completely collapse.
Yeah.
And finish after the third generation. First generation struggles, second generation consolidates, third generation destroys it. What they do is destroy. They destroy money made by their forefathers, parents. So it's not money. I think it is, business is all about that fire in you and that deep sense of commitment in you that I'm not going to lose. Losing means hell of a lot on the table. It's not like working for somebody else and just leaving, getting fired or putting in a resignation. When you want to start something on your own, you have to be prepared to work 10 times more harder, demonstrate 10 times more sense of commitment, because you've got your life, your existence, your future depends on that. And if you have these qualities, and now this is where I come. If you have these qualities plus a winning idea, today is the world of ideas. It is the ideas which drive business. Not the business that drives ideas. If you have a compelling idea, you have the will to succeed, you have the deep sense of commitment, money will follow you. Because there are plenty of people sitting out there with startup funds, with venture capital, who are looking for such people, who have that spark in their eyes. Look at the last 20 years of the economic corporate world, not only Nepal or not only India or the US or anywhere in the world. You will find that at least 80% of the businessmen who have made it to that position are all first timers. They come from non-business background, number two. Most of them have not gone to top B school, Harvard, Wharton, Oxford, or what have you. Number four, they did not have the money in their pocket. And what you find common among all of them was they were able to come up with some disruptive idea which changed the world. You talk of Steve Jobs, you talk of Bill Gates, you talk of anybody for that matter. You talk of John Com of the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
You got to have that one winning idea. And that idea is there. And today, particularly, is a word of connectivity. The digital world, the technology has finished the global boundaries of where you are. It doesn't matter. You may be able to do the same thing which somebody sitting in Silicon Valley is thinking, sitting here or back home in Sunwal, in Kathmandu, in Nepal. It's all about the power of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And which takes me to the point that when you started the biscuit company, and to produce biscuits, you had the flour mills, and it produced flour, which is way more than what is being used to produce the biscuit. And you look for an opportunity to use that flour where I can use that. And you go to Thailand, and here's this guy who says that, hey, do you really want to, do this noodle thing? The minimum capacity is 30,000 packets a day, and then your instinct says that, hey, I would be able to obviously easily sell like these 30,000 packets. And I think we are at where 1.5 million a day today, right?
No, we are 3 billion now worldwide.
3 billion,
3 billion packets a year.
Yeah.
Which is, I think 1 million, makes it about close to 1 million a day.
Yeah, which is almost 3% in the global noodle, and that's insane, and 20% in the Indian market, right?
Not 1 million, 10 million a day.
Yeah, 10 million a day. And there was this guy who doubted for 30,000, and here you are believing. And also you had no market study. You did not do any of those, any...
No, my feasibility came from the baggage belt of Tribhuvan International Airport.
Yeah, where Nepalese working abroad were, taking packets of the noodles to the different part of the world, right? How did you develop this instinct? Is this something that comes when you do it over and over again? Or, sometime that also leads to failure and you are okay with that? How does that work?
I think now I need to be candid. I need to be honest. I think that is a great entrepreneur is someone who has great gut feel about what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
If the big B schools made people into an entrepreneur, this world will be full of entrepreneurs. Okay? Yeah, the big schools, good schools can make you into a great manager, a great executor, okay, a great strategist. But they don't necessarily make you into an entrepreneur. This is my own conviction. If you are already an entrepreneur and if you also get to go to a good business school, it sharpens your skills. It improves your network and it helps you to do things better. Or it also adds your CV will become more attractive and maybe there are more people who are attracted to you. That's a different story. So my point is, whether it is the gut feel about noodle or having taken a plunge when Sri Lanka was on fire, or having gone to Northeast to sell noodle when, there were insurgents also seeking taxes on one side. On the other side, the government was seeking taxes. Walking in that very tight rope without hurting either side, or building a conglomerate in Nepal in a situation which as a Nepali, where we have 25 governments in 26 years' time. Okay, that kind of a political uncertainty. All this requires tremendous amount of entrepreneurial fire and entrepreneurial guts. You make mistakes. Many times I've done that. I've already admitted it. I've written it very candidly. Okay, but most of the time, a great idea coupled with that fire that I've talked about in terms of execution and the attitude that I'm not going to lift the table. I'm not going to let it go without achieving it. You yourself asked the question that when you go wrong or things don't go right, what do? I put in double the effort. I think bigger.
Yeah.
I think if one particular route has not worked, I think of 10 different routes of getting there. There is not only one rule to success.
So when you started, I'm sure it was about money. But I'm sure at this point of time, it's not about money anymore because you don't have to worry about that.
In my case, it was not about money alone. Because I did not have that kind of money. Neither I felt that I started with the notion that I want to accumulate X lakh or X crore. Okay, that somehow, believe me or not, has never been in my mind ever. I wanted to achieve what my dad could not achieve. In the league of that generation, I set a goal to build a corporate of Nepal which will stand out as a well-run, respectable, credible house of businesses which people will aspire and respect.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then I wanted to start a global multinational which is headquartered in Nepal. These were all very difficult and tall claims. Of course, money was a fuel, but money was not the end goal. The end goals were these objectives, which were very clearly engraved in my mind.
So what drives you today?
Well, I think I have two very clearly defined goals in my life. I would like corporate to go beyond the 3 generation, okay, which I think it will.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to put the building blocks in such a way that individual incompetencies is not going to impact the whole system. The machine has to work. If one particular piece of that machine doesn't work, that machine should get thrown out. Okay, the machine cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
The second thing that drives me, that I really want to see a change in my country. I want to see that youth like you will have so much to do in Nepal, so much of opportunities in Nepal, without any taking all those pains, without suffering, without going to knocking doors and doors for recommendations and pleading and, greasing the system. It should come the natural way. We have such beautiful Nepalese population worldwide, well-educated, smart, willing to work hard. It is their time, it is their chance to come back to Nepal and to put together, a Nepal that we have always dreamt of,
Yeah.
So that's what is my wish and my desire and my dream. I will continue to do what I can to achieve that. I'll be successful or not, destiny alone can say. But that's what is my priority on the table at the moment.
Beautiful. It's interesting that Nepal's former king Gyanendra said that Binod is a ruthless and shrewd businessman, and to which you interestingly responded, saying that shrewdness, word being used for a businessman, is a good thing.
It is. It is. You don't expect a businessman to be a fool. You will put your thriving business house into shambles and lose what your generations have built.
Yeah.
You need to be shrewd. Shrewd is not being cunning, by the way. I think people need to understand. I think shrewdness is having a reasonably balanced head on your shoulder and knowing what to do at a difficult moment. Not to get swayed, not to get emotionally carried away.
Yeah.
Although I doubt if he said that in that same spirit, but I take that as a compliment.
The other thing which is clearly visible throughout your book, Making It Big, is leveraging the power of network. The way, using the power of network to, whether that's expanding the business, whether that's partnering with people, whether that's, getting resources together, and especially for the young people. And I have experienced this, by the way, myself, because with this podcast, I get to meet so many interesting people. And I have realized it has helped me tremendously in my own career, because this really connect a lot of dots for me that I need, in my own journey. And I have seen the same in your path as well, where, a lot of dots connected, right? So is there any tips that you want to give for the people, maybe young entrepreneurs who are looking? Because what I see is when they get to, know some people, it's always about like, hey, you know what this person can help me with, and just go and start asking before adding value to that person, right? So is there any tips on those lines that you want to give to the young entrepreneurs, who, especially with regards to networking and connecting with the people?
I'm a firm believer that one of the key to having extraordinary success is to be with the right people at the right time, okay? With the right people at the right time in the right place. It's a very important combination. And this combination just doesn't fall from the sky. You got to work for it. Okay, number one. Number two, no relationship will last, or no relationship will go to the next level. Particularly if you are talking about your network with somebody who's achieved something in life, who's important, unless he sees value in that relationship with you. Okay, because all the time, he or she will come across people who want something from him. How do you communicate a message that, look, it's a mutually rewarding relationship? They may be in the field of doing things you like, culture, art, crafts, business, money, anything. there is a lot of give and take in a relationship. You got to be able to respect that. Okay. You got to be able to handle that relationship and be very careful that there's nothing wrong, I would say, in using that relationship for mutual good, but you should not abuse that relationship.
Yeah.
So I think I have no hesitation in admitting that whatever I am today, to a large extent, it's also with my skills of networking. Okay. And that networking skill is significantly gets sort of the energy or recognition or a unique distinction, because I get the opportunity of being present on that platform as Binod Chaudhary from Nepal.
Yeah.
So that Nepal factor, which always travels with me, always gives me the distinction of most of the time being the only one on that platform.
Yeah.
There may be 50 from India and 100 from China and 200 from US, but there is only one Binod Chaudhary from Nepal. And I can tell you, that no matter what they say, I think in India, sometimes it's painful when we find that not always the Nepalese do not always get a very fair kind of a treatment at all levels. Okay, particularly the people who serve in the service sector. Okay, but I think they have to realize that the whole world loves Nepal. Nepal is a country which is highly respected. People are fascinated. The country has always remained one of the top 5 countries in the list of people who want to visit Nepal once in their lifetime. And Nepalese people have, by and large, Nepalese people have been able to establish the reputation of honest, sincere, hardworking people who remain loyal. So I think these qualities work. So I think maybe I've given a very long answer to a short question. Yes, network is extremely important.
So a lot of people confuse spirituality with giving up on the wealth. And in the hindsight, I see some of the most successful business people in this planet today are deeply invested in spirituality. What is spirituality for you, and what role has it played in your business?
Spirituality, my guru, Sri Ravi Shankarji, he has taught me a very important lesson, that the life has to be complete. Okay? Without the right degree of spiritual balance, okay, the life can never be complete. It cannot be fulfilled. It's like he gives that example that to wear a beautifully stitched cloth press on you, it requires cutting on one hand and sewing on the other hand. So your materialistic needs does the cutting part, and your spiritual need or your spiritual journey puts it back.
That's the most beautiful thing that I have heard, by the way. Yeah.
So that's what spirituality is all about. You need the right blend of mutual spirituality in your life. And ever since my gurus come to my life, not only my life, my own life, my entire family's life has qualitatively changed. And that in turn, let me tell you, has also changed our professional life. Because a happy, balanced man with a balanced mind, okay? And we are, I think, close to be talking at the time of the World Yoga Day, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing a lots of yoga-related posts in the social media. And I think the whole world is beginning to realize it's so beautiful.
I've heard Nirvana, your son, starting his first business, where he said, my dad told me that, hey, you know what? Figure it out on your own. Figure it out how you can build the business on your own. And earlier you mentioned about I hope and planning the business in such a way that it lasts more than 3 generations. So how are you preparing the next generation at CZ to continue this legacy, so that maybe other entrepreneurs listening to this, or the entrepreneur parents listening to this and would like to pass on the knowledge to their kids? Is there something that they can learn from?
It's a very important part of my, I think, responsibility. Okay, because nobody wants to lose what you've made with great amount of effort.
Yeah,
it's up to you as a father and as well as a leader of the organization, which you've been part of building, to inspire your kids as much you inspire the rest of the organization and your associates, your customers, your stakeholders, right? A leader, if you cannot inspire your own children to follow that path, what the hell you are going to inspire anybody else? I think, according to me, there is something wrong in that. I do not necessarily say that all of them were born with the same level of entrepreneurship, with the same level of commitment, with the same level of hardworking capability. It all came with the passage of time. Everybody has different inbuilt lifestyle, interest in life, character. But you can bend, you can mold if you persistently work towards particular goal. And more importantly, if you show them that particular goal and destiny is more important to you than to me. I've already accomplished what I needed to accomplish. Okay? It's now your turn. Okay? And these things don't come on a silver platter. And this is where I connect what Nirvana says when he was studying in London. So he had to work. He worked while he was a student. And I think that he talks about that particular experience with great sense of respect, pride. I've seen that. I've heard that. So I think a blend of providing the right kind of direction as a father, as a leader, to be able to guide them to the point where they see for themselves. At the end of the day, it has to be you who have to see. To see for themselves that that's where you want to be. And one thing, the last time, my finishing line for this particular question would be that nothing succeeds like success. And nothing you enjoy in life more than success.
Beautiful. So let us say you are this 20-year-old young person coming from Kathmandu, or let's say any smaller city from India. Today, if you were to start today with all the knowledge that you have, and you were starting out today, what would you do?
I will get on. I'll do precisely what the generation of today, the bright people who I see signing out in the next 20 years time doing, thinking all the time of an idea which is going to be so powerful, okay, which is going to transform something. And it is easy. It is easy because today's world is the world of connecting things, connecting demand with supply. You can be an intermediary. If B&B can become the world's largest hotelier without owning one hotel room, okay, if Uber can be the world's largest taxi operator without owning one car, you can be probably sitting somewhere and connecting the two worlds, or connecting to the demand with supply, or connecting an idea to solve somebody's problem, or connecting something. I will be doing something like that. And I think there is nothing. Let me tell you that today, to be less than 30 is the biggest advantage. And you asked me the question at 20. Okay? To be the less than 30 is the biggest advantage ever in the history of this universe. Because today you are surrounded by the most advanced technology to connect, to search, to find what is happening, who is doing what are the success stories, blah, 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 blah. Secondly, you can access information within seconds. You don't have to go to a library. In our time, we had to go to the library to look for a book or look for a professor to give us information. Thirdly, if I have that great idea, to reach out to the startups, to venture capitalists, people who support entrepreneurs, incubators. I mean, you talk of whatever, or state-owned sponsored funds, colleges which are thriving on these kind of ideas. It's all there. It's all there in that little gadget in your hand. What it takes is your own inner commitment and that fire in your belly, That is why I tell my boys that one wish that I'll have to leave this world with, unfulfilled, will be that I could not be born as my own son. Otherwise, I would show you guys.
That's amazing. Beautifully put. So I have one last question. Before I ask that question, I would like to acknowledge you for everything that you are doing. And for the listeners who are listening to this, grab the copy of Making It Big. I have read it twice, and every single time I read that book, there's a lot to learn from, and I think the book is honest as it can get, as candid as it is, because you will see all the flaws, you will see all the mistakes that you have made, and also the lessons that you have learned along the way. I'll link that up in the description of this episode. Please check that out. Now, here's the last question. Imagine that you're standing on the stage, and this is the largest stadium that has ever been built in the history of the world, and there are millions and millions of people on that stadium. And there you are on the stage, and you have been given only 1 minute of the time to share the most important lesson that you have learned in your life. What would be your message?
The most important lesson that I've learned in my life is believing in yourself, that there is a solution to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
So long you are honest to your cause, okay? So long you are mentally prepared to not give up until you've achieved your ultimate goal. I'm going to say that people who stand by their values, stand by their thoughts, stand by their commitments, stand by their goals.
Thank you so much. Your story has definitely inspired a lot of young people like myself. Follow the dreams, and especially the background that you come from, and just tells a lot of young people and tell them like, hey, you know what? If Dr. Binod can make it happen, then I can as well. Thank you so much for inspiring a lot of young people.
That's precisely what I was trying to say. And that's a very famous quote from me, which I told to the students in a convocation program. Follow your dream.
Yeah.
Follow your dream and do not stop dreaming. But be careful that you are dreaming the same dream every day until you have achieved that dream.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Inspiring Talk podcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, or wherever you get your podcast from. We have a library of more than 100 episodes of the show. Make sure that you check the past episodes as well. And if you'd like to send me a voice note, you can do so by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/speak. That is SPEAK. Also, you can access the show notes of this episode by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/118. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you in the next. Now, go out there and do something inspiring.